Are you feeling lost in the fitness maze? You want to get started on your fitness journey, but don't quite know where to begin? Well, your search is finally over. Whether you've attempted to exercise before and simply couldn't stick to a routine, or you're a complete newbie to fitness, I've got you covered. My name is Tyler Warlow and I go by the Mengineer. Today I'm going to be detailing the 4 main pillars of fitness exercises to try when starting your fitness journey. For each pillar, I'm going to give a summary of the benefits, as well as some exercises to try and some of my personal tips. And I think you'll want to stick around to the end for this one, because at the end of the video, I'll be giving my number 1 piece of advice for someone who is just starting their fitness journey. If you're returning to the channel, welcome back. And if you're new, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe. Now let's jump into the video. First pillar that I want to talk about today is the one that I personally have the most experience in, and that is going to be strength training or resistance exercises. I've personally been doing weight training for about 2.5 years. I picked it up by trying simple body weight exercises, so it was pretty rudimentary to start, but of course when things started opening back up, I started going to an actual gym. There are a couple key benefits to strength training, and I'm not going to go super into detail on these, but if you would like a video that goes more in depth, please leave a comment down below. Some of the main benefits that come along with strength training are increased muscle strength and size, improved bone density and health, as well as improved joint health. All of these benefits can improve your longevity and quality of life, especially as you start getting older. If you're interested in strength training, there are a few key types that you can look into. There's the one that goes by the same name as the pillar, strength training, which focuses on lifting heavier and heavier weights with low rep schemes so that you build strength. Another way that you can do resistance training is focusing on increasing muscle size or hypertrophy. In other words, you would work with a lighter weight for a higher amount of reps usually. This doesn't hold true to all people, but it's the typical general rule of thumb. And then finally, there's functional strength training, which focuses on developing functional strength or strength that you can use in your everyday life. There's several ways that you can train each of these. How I personally started was with bodyweight training. I did about an 8-week program of bodyweight training before moving into the next thing that I'll discuss, which is free weights. So things like dumbbells or barbells. So the things that you think of when you think of bench press or squat, those are more likely free weights. And then you've also got things like resistance bands, which can add additional resistance to other exercises that might not normally have them. My tip for this category is start simple and focus on your form. Injury is a very real risk when doing strength training of any form, and you want to make sure that you have that form down as perfectly as you can get it. Start light, perfect your form, and that's going to protect you from injuries as you start lifting heavier or start doing more challenging movements. Another great piece of advice that I heard is make sure you're keeping track of your progress. You can do that a couple ways. You can do that with progress pictures of your body so you can see the physical changes, or you can also keep track of the weights that you're lifting. There might be some weeks where you feel like you're stuck and you're not making that much progress, but when you actually look back at the progress that you've made because you've been tracking it, you will see the improvements over time, and that will help motivate you to continue going. The second pillar of exercise that I want to talk about is aerobic or cardiovascular exercises. These are generally exercises that raise your heart rate and really get your blood pumping. Now, the American Heart Association makes 2 recommendations in terms of activity level for aerobic activity. If you're just doing a moderate level of aerobic activity, 150 minutes of cardio is recommended per week. But if you're doing intense cardio, like HIIT exercises, only 75 minutes. So the general rule of thumb is the less intense the cardio, the more you need to do of it to get the full benefits. Cardiovascular exercise strengthens your heart. By strengthening your heart, you're improving its efficiency at pumping blood through your entire body. This has several benefits associated with it, like lower blood pressure, reduced risk of cardiovascular disease, and improved circulation. Now I'm going to go into a couple types of cardiovascular exercise. The first ones that I'm going to discuss are the kind of obvious ones. You've got running, cycling, and swimming. Those are all things that people have typically heard of. And for the most part, the general thing that I hear is, I don't really enjoy running. I don't really enjoy swimming. If that sounds like you, I've got a few other recommendations for exercises that also are cardiovascular. One of my favorite exercises to do that can be cardiovascular is dancing. Find some music that is really high energy and really dance to as much as you can. The more you move, the more benefit that you'll get out of it. And then there's boxing, which has been known to be really intense and a great exercise for the cardiovascular system. My tip for this is don't just try to jump into the deep end. A lot of people try to just go for, let's say, like a 5K right off the start. I highly wouldn't recommend that, as you can risk injuring yourself as your body is not really prepared for it, especially if it's running, which is more high impact on your joints. For instance, I lost a bet and I had to train to do a half marathon in 3 months. And in the process, because I had never really had trained running before, I managed to give myself a stress reaction in my leg, which is a step just before a stress fracture. We don't want that happening. Cardiovascular exercise has such incredible benefits for the longevity and personal health. So really try to find something that you enjoy. If you try running and you don't enjoy it, or you try swimming and you don't enjoy it, try to find something that gets your heart rate up, whether that's soccer or basketball. There's so many different forms of cardiovascular exercises out there to try that there really isn't any excuse not to find something that you enjoy. The third pillar that I'm going to talk about today is flexibility. Some of the main benefits that come along with training flexibility include increased range of motion of your joints, reduced tension and stiffness in the muscles, and then decreased risk of bodily injuries. Since your body is more flexible, it is more likely to be able to handle sudden changes in its environment, and it's less likely to get injured. A lot of strains or sprains come from very quick changes to muscle that was a little too stiff to be able to handle that change. So improving your flexibility can help reduce that risk. There's a few different ways that you can train your flexibility. In terms of stretching, there's static holds and dynamic stretching. Static holds are when you're holding a position for around 30 seconds before coming out of that. And so that's what most people typically think of when they think of stretching. Dynamic stretching is when you're going into a stretch position and then coming out of it and repeating that for several reps. Some other popular forms of flexibility training involve Pilates and yoga. I actually know a yoga instructor, so if y'all are interested in me trying yoga sometime soon and giving my documentation of the benefits that I see from it, leave a comment down below and I'll be sure to try it out. The main tip that I'm gonna give when it comes to any form of flexibility training is make sure that you properly warm your body up. A lot of people think of stretching as a form of warm-up for exercises, but you have to be very careful when you're doing this. Typically, warm-up stretches are done very light, but if you're doing actual flexibility training, you tend to do much deeper stretches. And to make sure that you aren't straining or potentially tearing the muscle, you want to make sure that your body is warmed up. A cold muscle has a much harder time stretching, and if you try to push it past a limit that normally would be attainable if you were warmed up, you could potentially risk tearing the muscle, and we don't ever want to see that. So that's my number one tip for flexibility exercises. Always make sure that you're warmed up properly. And finally, we're going to get into the pillar that I personally have the least experience in, and that is balance and stability. Some of the main benefits that can be found from balance and stability training can also be found to a bit of a lesser degree in the other pillars. But by doing regular practice and intentional training, you can enhance these benefits even further. Talking about some of the benefits, it will improve your proprioception. Hopefully I said that correctly, but that is your awareness of your body's position. It of course improves your balance and coordination, and by improving the stability of your muscles, you're also decreasing the risk of injury like strains and sprains at the joints. And then it can also lead to increased functional fitness. So movements that you would do in everyday life, you'd be able to handle even easier. This could be as simple as walking on uneven surfaces, carrying things upstairs, being put in situations where your balance is thrown off unexpectedly, etc., etc. While intentional training in this area might not seem important now, and I am also guilty of this, it makes an incredible difference as you start getting older. As you start getting older, your body has a harder time bouncing back from injuries. So by giving your body the ability to handle injuries and unexpected situations more readily, you're reducing your risk of an injury that could potentially be more long-term. Some of the common exercises that focus on this are yoga exercises that focus on balance, such as the tree pose. You can also do these things called balance board exercises, which is getting a board putting it kind of on a wheel and trying to balance on it. And if these sound a little simple to you, not that enjoyable, you can also try something like skateboarding or surfing, which will challenge your ability to stay level on a moving platform. My tip with this, again, is start simple, start learning slowly, and slowly work your way up. You don't want to be like me and try to learn how to skateboard and go too fast on the second day, not wearing any pads, and fall and bruise your elbow. Make sure that you're practicing your balance and stability exercises in a safe environment and at a pace that you can handle. And there you have it, everyone. Those are the 4 main pillars of exercises that I think every beginner should know. I hope that you found at least one of them interesting or exciting and that it motivates you to try something new and start your fitness journey. At the beginning of this video, I promised y'all my number 1 tip for those who are starting their fitness journeys. So here we go. My number 1 tip is find something that you find enjoyable and do it consistently. One of the biggest reasons that people fail to consistently stick to a workout plan is because they go into a type of exercise that they really don't find enjoyable. Take me for instance, I tried running multiple times and I really disliked the exercise. So why would I do it? Why would I force myself to do something that I truly don't enjoy? What's gonna encourage me to come to the gym on the hard days if I don't enjoy the thing that I'm doing? For me personally, I found a type of exercise that I enjoyed in resistance training. I started off by setting a goal of doing an 8-week program where I only had to show up 3 days out of the week and train. That made it a lot harder for me to use my schedule as an excuse, as I only had to show up for 3 days and the workouts were relatively short. After I finished that first 8-week program, I progressed to training with free weights. And I got really excited when I saw the weight going up each week and I saw the improvement in my form as well as working out with other people. That excitement to see my improvement helped me push through those hard days where I really didn't want to go to the gym. And again, when you first start going, it's more important to show up. The workouts do not have to be that long. Keep them to 30 minutes if you have to, but do it consistently. Hold yourself to that schedule, whether it's just a few days a week or not. By showing up consistently, you'll really start to build that habit and start associating the gym as part of your daily ritual. If you do those 2 things, showing up consistently and doing a type of exercise that you really enjoy, it will make getting started exercising so much easier. But for now, that brings us to the end of the video. If you have any thoughts or questions on some of the pillars that I described, please feel free to leave a comment down below. I always try to respond. If you enjoyed the video, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. And if you're interested in other potential ways to improve your life, I will have a link to my first video right here where I discuss ways to engineer your life. If you're more interested in my more recent stuff, I'll have my most recent video linked right here. As always, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. And for now, this is the Mengineer signing off.